People are going to hear us now. They can hear you now, Mike.
Oh no.
Wait, test. Check. Is there an echo on your line a little bit, maybe?
There was, because I had you playing on both, but I just muted you on Discord.
Great. Wonderful. I can just mute myself there, too.
My horn for the intro. Wow. Dick Turbo, don't even. I'll do it again. Yeah, I got horn.
You'll be able to see us in a second, y'all. Just hang on.
Yes, I know how excited you all must be.
Oh, wait. I need to...
Oh, what a day. A couple super chats.
All right. They can see us. And they can hear us. How's it going, everybody? We're getting started here in a second. I had to go feed some children. Mike had to take his dog out.
It's true. Yeah, this surprised us. See, people like the other food. This is a low D whistle.
Oh.
Sounds a little exotic, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Sounds like you should be playing along the walkway of a PlayStation E3 conference.
Yes, it makes me think of the last. I think that's what made me want to get one. was that chasing that mood?
Yeah.
That weird last Ghost of Tsushima like Goda that they had or whatever that was.
All right, so the video's good. We already did. We're doing the mic check right now.
Check.
We're checking our mic, and I got the rundown. I just want to get. Okay, I just gotta remember to hit record, and this time I should remember to hit stop recording too, Mike. And then
yes,
and then we got the chat right here. Chat's good.
Yeah.
Okay. How you feeling, Mike? You about ready to start?
Yeah. Hey, Jay Linz, if you're in there, I see your super chat. Before we go live, I do want some clarification what this means. Just want to let you both know there are great second-person books. What's your favorite second-party games ever?
So it's second party. Like, what's your question there, Mike? What you want to know? What the
well, I guess I don't understand what's the connection between I know what a second-person book is. I know what a second-party game is.
In a recent podcast, I don't remember if it was the last one or in a thing I said like second person isn't really a perspective that people write from. I suppose that maybe that there are people that have tried to experiment in that. So I guess I would love, actually DM me on Twitter some good examples of some second person perspective books or whatever. But then
almost aren't all video games like second person?
No, they're first person or third person. I guess you're the second person.
That's different. That's a different meaning of it. We're talking about camera. In video games, it means camera. In books, it means this is stupid. Let's not talk about this anymore. I understand the question though, and we will get to it. So
we'll get to it. All right. Yeah. Fair enough. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Nick Turbo, I'll ban you again if you talk shit about Mega Man one more time. I don't care. Actually, I can still block you. You watch out. I don't care if you're a moderator. I don't care nothing. I'm not here messing around. I beat Resident Evil 8. I'm a big boy now. I'm not taking any of you all shit.
All right, let me find Twitter to tweet that we're going live.
It's the blunt. I have many vices. I am not. The 420isms is not one of them. I'm lame in that regard.
Yeah, he's a nerd.
Yeah.
Get him.
Meanwhile, you're in freaking Colorado, so I just always assume that you're high.
Yeah, that's safe. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Where's the video? Let me get a link here. Oh, that's not right.
You see how popular my tweets have been this week? I'm like cooler than you.
Yeah, you're doing real well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it's a game and it matters. So hey, it's all good.
All right. Podcast is starting. Come watch.
Oh, I like right now your sign just looks like it says one Ryan fan. And it's like, what does that mean? Ryan
Two.
fans.
That's very good. Okay.
No, you fixed that. Fair enough.
All right. I'm good. Let me just. I gotta hit start here. Okay, Mike, you ready? Wait. Let's check this. Let's see. Is this the right? There we go. You heard it?
No, I'm just singing it in my head. I didn't know you were playing it.
Okay. Well then.
Bad timing.
Is broadcast? No. Oh, that's right. I mixed up my mic. Okay, I just gotta fix the routing real quick.
Tomas is getting his coffee anyways. He needs 30 seconds. So this is
yeah. We'll hold off.
Yes, we do. I hope people like my 3 Caballeros shirt. Ooh, here it is.
Wonderbar. Okay, cool.
Who's messaging? You'll be happy to know that Dean is done with his newsletter.
I'm very happy about that. I was worried.
Mm-hmm. I think he'd make it this time. We'll talk about it when we do the show.
Okay. It's been 30 seconds for Tomas. Let's do this. You ready?
He's got his coffee. He's ready to party.
Okay, here we go. All right. I'm going to do the countdown, hit the button. All right. 5, 4. It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything happening in the world of video games so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeff Grubb. With me is
Mike Minotti. I think Penny's barking somewhere else or is done barking. I don't know. Great
Penny,
timing, Penny.
Penny can join us whenever she wants. She knows that. If she ever wants to chime in. Today's episode, we got news, we got games, we got a whole bunch of stuff happening with Epic. Nintendo reported their earnings. It was pretty impressive stuff. First, though, thank you for joining us, everybody. You can get more from me and Mike at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, email the podcast at games+podcast@venturebeat.com. Thank you to Carlos Zain, who is Insane in the Rain music for the use of our theme song. If you are listening to this on the website player widget, if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to the audio version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever pods are caught. Give us a thumbs up if you are watching right now on YouTube. That helps people find the show. And then if you, join the Discord. The link is in the description. It's also, if you just swipe over on the podcast art on your app, you'll be able to find the link there as well. And then help support the show. Help get into secret rooms inside the Discord by going to patreon.com/Jeff Grubb. That gets you access to those rooms and stuff. And you can find a link to that inside the Discord if you happen to join the Discord. Okay, Mike, how's it going? How are you doing?
Good. Apparently, my brother's listening in right now with my 3-year-old nephew in the garage, and my nephew is very confused. So, hi, Harrison. It's Uncle Mike from the He likes like YouTube people, so I kind of want him to know like I'm a YouTube star. Aren't I cool? But doesn't seem to be nearly as impressed.
Yeah, you gotta play Minecraft, man. Why aren't you playing more Minecraft?
I'm not playing Minecraft. I'm not like making dolls like smashing each other. I don't know what he does. Apparently at one point he started acting like one of the YouTube people.
Of course.
He's like, hello, this is Harrison, and today, and my brother was concerned and took the YouTube away for a bit.
I think taking away the YouTube is one of the first steps you could do as a good parent. But hey, unless we're on, in which case put all your children in front of the TV and make them watch us. And,
I'm doing this super chat right now because Mattathias says, I want to hear Jeff say Konami because I want to hear this too because I got triggered. Let me say it.
First, in my defense, it was 4:30 a.m. when I recorded that. Okay.
Did I ask for your excuses? I think I asked you to pronounce Konami.
All right, I'm gonna take a deep breath and I'm gonna say it. Okay. Konami is how I actually say it. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. The fact that you second guessed yourself.
It's just
Konami.
Because
who's ever said it like that? Okay. How long have you been doing this?
Listen,
How did that trip you up?
I said I would say Hideo Kojima my entire life, and everyone's like, actually, it's Hideo Kojima. And so I'm like trying to be better about saying like the names correctly, and so I'm tripping myself up because I'm like I'm probably saying it wrong because I read in a magazine for 15 years before I ever heard anyone say it. Okay, Konami. Already losing it. That's how I say it. Mike, you got a problem?
Yes, I have a problem. You're bad and you should feel bad. But we can move on. I just wanted to get it out of the way. And then, then you also just straight up like said a penis word for Coke Media or whatever.
Yeah, well, listen.
To be clear, I don't know how to pronounce them either.
Yeah.
Cock may actually be how that's pronounced.
Be right. We don't know.
That one, I don't know.
Hi, Harrison. All right.
New fun words for Harrison.
Yeah. You know what? We really should, from now on, when we're just talking about that company, we should just call it Media. And that'll just be what it is. All right. All right, I'm ready. This is gonna be a good show, everybody. We got a bunch of people here in the chat. As always, you can always ask questions, and we're gonna get to them pretty soon. You can use the super chat feature here on YouTube, or if you are one of the Patreon members and the podcast producers, there's a link. You can follow that, and we'll answer those questions after we get through the news. Mike, should we just get to the news? Anything else going on, or should we just hop into that stuff?
Let's get into that news. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about.
Yes. So, Nintendo reported their earnings this week. It was like I said, pretty impressive stuff. It was record profits for them and near record revenue. This is the fiscal year that basically comprised all of the pandemic, and everyone knew Nintendo did very well as people and families turned to video games to try to get some entertainment when everything else was sort of closed up. The Switch has sold, I think it's just above 85 million Switches, or it's approaching that number. The 85 million Switch consoles shipped worldwide. And Nintendo, the Switch has 36 games that have sold 1 million copies or more, which seems like a really impressive and high number. 22 of those are Nintendo games, and then 14 are third-party games. So a lot of very successful games. The one game that I kind of can't get over, though, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which sold 10 million copies alone last year. Like, more than most other new games. It is just wild. I guess, what are your thoughts on these numbers from Nintendo?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Again, it's just insane almost all these games have legs now, right? Like, even like a Luigi's Mansion 3 or something is a game that's just going to keep on selling. Mario Kart 8, I think it's the best-selling racing game ever. Those numbers are ridiculous. It's why I still think people are deluding themselves when they think that Mario Kart 9 is getting announced at this E3.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's Nintendo. Who knows what they're going to do? I mean, if Nintendo was like remotely logical, there would have been so many DLC tracks and cups and racers for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that just never happened, right? That seems like easy money that they just never went for. But yeah, they're doing really well. Like, Animal Crossing was obviously a giant hit, and that helped them a lot. And even though it seemed like it was a quieter year aside from that, it didn't matter. People just keep going to all these games, and they're finding plenty of other things to buy.
Yeah, and I guess, technically it was a relatively quiet year for Nintendo. I think last year they had something like 17 games that they released, and the year before that they released 19 games. And then but in their fiscal 2020, which just ended, they only released 13 games. So clearly there were fewer games, and we felt that everyone was kind of noticing that. But like you said, it didn't really make much of a difference. And you speak to them being like, it would be logical to release DLC for Mario Kart, but I mean, is that the audience that they're even thinking about? Because the game sells to people who buy new Switches. So as people get a new Switch for the first time, they buy Mario Kart and probably something else, or they get Mario Kart in a bundle, whatever. But it's like they're just thinking about the new Switch owner for that game, and not necessarily thinking like, oh, we're going to get our money's worth if we put effort into making DLC tracks. But I guess I would definitely buy it, and it would probably do very well, right? You would think it would do well. Do you think
it would do at least as well as the Smash Brothers characters, right?
Right. I think so. Yeah, especially if they start bringing in other Nintendo stuff. Yeah, I'm
sure it would do well enough to justify the effort in making it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, not a logical company, but yeah, oh well. Mario Kart is a game that is bundled a lot, but it doesn't seem like that's why that game does well. If you look at some of the other games, some of the older games like Zelda, also released in 2017, sold 4 or 5 million copies in the last year. Super Mario Odyssey's in that same boat. Just a lot of games like that continue to sell extremely well for that company.
I think 3D World has already or almost sold more than it did on Wii U. I mean, all those Wii U games, that's true for, right? Like Pikmin 3 Deluxe is the best-selling Pikmin game.
Right, yes. Yeah, 2 million copies for that game. That's by far the best-selling one of those in that franchise. Excuse me. I think that the point here is, like, you look at these games that are very old, continue to sell well, haven't seen a real price drop, not really. And you compare them to other new releases from other companies. I think Sony confirmed that Ghost of Tsushima sold 6.5 million copies as of March. So through the same like fiscal period. And it's like, yeah, older games from Nintendo kind of are right there matching those numbers.
It's kind of hard to believe that Luigi's Mansion 3 has sold twice as much as some of these games we consider very big deals and hits.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. It's like it's just under 10 million copies, Luigi's Mansion 3, right? So, yeah. And then
like the last we heard about Final Fantasy 7 Remake was like 5 million copies shipped, and that was like about a year ago. So maybe a couple more since then. So like maybe it's at 7 million copies right now, maybe 8.
Maybe 8.
Again, like Final Fantasy 7 Remake probably has not sold as well as Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yes, and Luigi's Mansion 3 also hasn't seen many price drops. Also should continue to get bumps every year around Halloween time. I think they're going to do very well with like selling that game every Halloween. It's just a whole other stratosphere when you're talking about a single company publishing video games. Nintendo's sort of in their own realm. A lot of that comes from appealing to families and just having that broad appeal instead of having like the more niche, more hardcore gamers, which do spend a lot of money. And we see that. Like I was trying to compare it to Sony's overall how many like software units sell on PlayStation versus how many total software units sell on the Switch. And they're pretty close, but there's years where Sony sold like 350,000 or 350 billion or million units or whatever, and that's almost like 100 million more than what Nintendo had, and that's because Call of Duty and FIFA sell very, very, very well on PlayStation around the world, and Nintendo just isn't going to match that stuff. But in terms of one company like making and selling video games, it is on a different realm. That wasn't all the Nintendo news, though. Another thing that was inside of this earnings report is, and I know this is very important to you, Mike, Nintendo is nominating the CEO of Illumination Studios, the company that makes the Minions, which I know you're just a big fan of, to its board of directors. What does this mean to you?
It means that they're happy with what they're seeing so far from that Mario movie.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
They're pleased with that. I think they're expecting that to be a hit. I think they're expecting to make more Mario movies and more Nintendo movies. We know that's a big thing for them, is to leverage these characters in other media, including theme parks and this. So this is almost like a little bit of like when the Apple guy, whose name I can't remember, not Tim Cook, the old one that everyone thought was a genius, was in the Disney board, right?
I can't remember that now.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm brain farting on the most famous tech guy ever.
Yeah, I know. Here's where my brain is, Mike. I can't believe you broke my brain like this. Steve Irwin is what my brain wants to say. Steve Jobs. There we go. Yeah, not the crocodile hunter or whatever.
I'm so glad you were there with me, because I was like, why can't I remember the most famous like computer guy's
and to be fair, you got it before chat. Chat just put it in there, so yes, you got it. Well done.
We made it. But yeah, so that's a big takeaway. They are expecting big things from this Mario movie.
And I think we know that Nintendo's working closely with them. They've said repeatedly like Miyamoto is very hands-on with the movie, so they're helping to formulate the movie and what it looks like. But then they're also seeing like dailies or whatever and seeing what it looks like, so they would know if they're happy with it. And to me, this just means like what you said, they're going to try to leverage these characters more and more to make more money in other venues.
Wouldn't it be something if Miyamoto was treating this like he does some of the like Mario games, where he's like basically telling him there can't be any story?
Yeah, less story.
Now it's a movie, so it's like, what is it? It's just like watching a playthrough of a Mario game, but you could never play it.
Yeah. What's with all this talking? Why are all these characters saying things? This is too much. It's going to confuse people.
I am still very curious, like how much is Mario talking in this movie? Because like I'm not putting it past them, like still having him talk the amount he talks in a game.
Yeah, mostly grunts and stuff.
Still may just say, he may still grunt and say "Mamma Mia." Like I don't know.
It would be awesome if he only spoke in like Italian stereotypes, like dishes, like spaghetti lasagna. Like that would be very good.
Just like Mario and Luigi. Which was great.
Exactly. Yes, I would love that. I think that would be pretty dated at this point if they tried to pull something like that. So I doubt it. But I would love it.
I just have a hard time. I still have a hard time like seeing like the Mario movie that actually looks like Mario, not like the weird live action thing where like Mario and Luigi have a conversation. This is like, what does that look like? I don't know.
Yeah, because like these movies always have like that scene in Indiana Jones where they point to the chalkboard with a thing to explain what the rest of the movie is going to be about. It is very hard to imagine that scene in a Mario movie where they explain what like they're going to do for the rest of the movie. They're probably going to have like Toadsworth or Captain Toad come in and like handle that sort of stuff. And Mario doesn't talk very much.
Mario has to like have like emotional highs and lows and stuff. Like it's just like, what, man? I'm glad I'm not making that movie.
Yeah,
That
it's
seems
gonna
hard.
be a tough one. Yeah, having to convince Miyamoto to get on board with that stuff has got to be a thing. I hope we get the oral history of this eventually. Other Nintendo stuff. Let's see. Nintendo revealed a new video game, Mike, a new IP, a brand new Nintendo
Yes.
IP. How are you feeling about this? Like, do those words get you excited?
Well, I mean, sure. What's funny? So this is that. What is it called? Game Maker Garage.
Game Builder Garage for
Game
$30.
Builder Garage. They actually announced this while we were recording a new E3 commentary track. We were watching Sony's 2015 show, which is where they were showing off Dreams at one point.
Mhm.
And we were talking about that. This isn't exactly Dreams. In fact, it's probably what's going to help this game is that the scale is much smaller. But I don't know. Like, this is much more your kind of a thing than my kind of a thing. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it looks good. I'm ready to play it. I'm very excited for it. It is about connecting like they're calling like nodons, and these nodons are they're like actions that you could do to interact with the game, and you connect it to something that actually controls something inside the game, and it's all like visual programming. And Nintendo's promising to like show you how to make games the Nintendo way, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. But to me, it looks a lot like a WarioWare sort of thing. There's a lot of like WarioWare vibes. There was that WarioWare DIY game for the Game Boy Advance, and it seems like this is almost like the spiritual successor. So I'm into it on that level as well, where it's reminding me of that franchise that we'll probably never get more of. But yeah, I mean, $30 for this weird little thing. I'm definitely ready to try it out and kind of see what it is. I don't expect this to be a 5 million seller or anything like that.
Do you think it's interesting at all that they just kind of dropped this randomly instead of like saving it as just even one more little piece of the puzzle for their E3 showcase?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit interesting, but it also seems like they were just trying to make sure that they had new games to pop into their earnings thing that they did later that day. So it kind of lines up with that a little bit. And then, all right, so there was so this is a tidbit that is about Nintendo, but it comes from that Epic versus Apple thing. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a bit. But this Nintendo sort of tidbit is about Nintendo's contracts when it works with other partners in Japan. And basically, there's a stipulation in all these contracts that says a Japanese company cannot be working with or have any relations with the actual yakuza. They cannot be involved with any organized crime. And it's just funny to be like Nintendo, like imagining that, or just like making it the force of law saying, do not work with the yakuza. Like that's an actual concern that Nintendo's story about it. Yeah, it's a good rule. We should have had that rule with our podcast. So things went bad back in the day, but now we've learned. Yeah, no yakuza.
Yeah, don't let's not make that rule because I may have to quit. I don't know if I can. Well,
you can grandfather in. You can be grandfathered in.
Okay, all right, fine. Good.
Yeah, it's just a funny little tidbit. A lot of stuff coming out of that Epic versus Apple thing. Like I said, we'll get to in a second. But
yes.
I wanted to ask you, Mike, about would you like to use Discord on a console?
Yes, I would like to do that.
Wouldn't that be better? Especially as we get more like cross-play games. Well, Sony agreed with you, and PlayStation said it will begin integrating Discord into the PlayStation Network in early 2022. I guess what do you imagine that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's just full integration. Like, I hope Discord stuff just almost takes over like parties and all the thing, and it's just easier for people on PC to join in. I imagine it might not be quite so comprehensive at first. I imagine that like the traditional PlayStation parties are just going to exist, and this Discord thing is going to exist, and it might be a little kind of confusing and weird at first until it kind of gets sorted out.
Yeah, I almost just hope that like you could start a room, and the room, like you start a party basically, and the party can float between PSN and Discord, and it doesn't matter what you're signed into, but if you want to join it, you could join it through either, and it's just all seamless. Like that would be ideal. Like I think that'd be, because that way, if you have people who are a little bit more casual, family members who own a PlayStation, have always been playing games with PlayStation, and they just want to go into the room like normal, they can do that. But then if I want to play with them and I'm on PC, I don't have to like try to like get them to use Discord on their phones. I could just get on Discord and hop into their PlayStation room, and it just works. That would be great.
Right. Now, of course, who I really want to have this is Nintendo, and they never will. But.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Nintendo still is just telling people to use their phone app, and they're not even really telling people that anymore. They're just expecting people to use Discord.
I think they are. I mean, gosh, they have to have numbers. They have to see that no one uses that. But it's weird because you also don't expect them to address that or care at all. I still would love to know whatever the thinking was there. That was
Uh,
just
I
so
think
bad.
my guess is they just don't want to have any sort of computational overhead on the Switch that they don't need to run on the Switch, because it would hurt battery life. It would make games maybe run worse if there's a chat program running in the background. And that's like, I hope that like the Switch Pro addresses this, but I don't think that even if it could, I don't think that they would. So they're still going to be in that same situation where they're not going to have something like Discord on Switch. Of course, this does come after Microsoft was in talks to acquire Discord, at least according to rumors. Those talks fell through. And as part of Sony's deal here to integrate Discord, they've also made a minority investment in Discord. And people might think, oh, does that mean that this completely blocks out Microsoft and Xbox from getting involved in Discord in any way? And it really shouldn't, and it really wouldn't. Like, PlayStation being a minority stakeholder in Discord just means that that doesn't give them any like real say so in how Discord's going to operate, and they couldn't tell them to keep other people out, especially as Discord is probably eyeing going public, in which case bringing in more users from a platform like Xbox would be beneficial to eventually going public and having those numbers to be like, look how much we're growing. And Sony as an investor would want that as well, because that's actually what an investment's about. Yeah, and then we have Activision Blizzard earnings, Mike, and I was going to ask you if you looked into this at all, because I was only looking a little bit, but I have some headlines here we could talk about.
Yeah, nothing super crazy to me. I know there's something about. I mean, on the Blizzard side, they haven't had any big releases for a while, and things are getting kind of almost awkward there as we're waiting for some of their games while other games are stalling out. But what did you have?
So yeah, I did have there was that headline, I think, from MMOly or whatever it is. I can't remember, but they basically said Blizzard has lost almost 29% of its overall active player base in the last 3 years, which, as you said, kind of just tracks with their release schedule.
And I imagine a ton of that is Overwatch, because
Yes.
Overwatch is, it's basically not in development right now. There's seasonal events and skins with that, and that's about it. No new maps, no new heroes, really. So of course, a lot of people are taking a break from that, and that was a big hit. So 30% can easily come from that. And then I think World of Warcraft's probably doing okay, although a lot of the classic players have probably fallen off and are waiting for Burning Crusade Classic, which is coming out on June 1st. I know you had that too, so that'll give them a little bit of a bump. And we know that they also kind of snuck in there in their earnings that Diablo Immortal is coming out this year.
Right.
It's in its second alpha right now. It seems like it's actually in pretty good shape. I've been playing it a bit. It seems like it's good. So that should also help them. And then Diablo 2 later this year will help. And then when Diablo 4 is out. So it's an awkward period right now for them. I think things will eventually be fine.
No, yeah, I think that's right. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to Diablo Immortal at this point. That's something that, like, yeah, I'll play that on my tablet. That seems like a good way to play the game. I've heard nothing but good things at this point. I know it started off shaky, but most recently everyone seems to be enjoying it who has gone hands on, which I think you've played it a little bit, right?
Yeah, and it's fun. It works.
Yeah. I guess the other side of this is Call of Duty continues to be Activision's cash cow, and it drove 27% revenue growth to $2.28 billion, which, Call of Duty has seen growth because it has that mobile game that continues to grow pretty fast, and then Warzone continues to grow, and they're just getting more and more microtransactions in that. So, and it's not like the old Call of Duty model of the video game release, and then the continuing multiplayer there has had any like real significant drop off. So they have all that money still coming in as well.
And I mean, we're seeing other companies now just trying to copy that model.
Yes.
Ubisoft is basically just trying to turn Division into it's the closest thing they have to Call of Duty, even though it's not very close. But they said they're making that Heartland, which is going to be a standalone free-to-play like spin-off of Division. And they didn't say it's a battle royale, but it sure sounds like this is going to be their Warzone.
Right.
And they're also working on a mobile game, which sounds like it's going to be their Call of Duty mobile. So.
And these free-to-play like shooters or free-to-play spin-offs, or just like if you're Apex Legends, we've seen that they can pull a Fortnite and go wherever they need to. Apex Legends now has like a Valorant / CSGO mode where it's like buy rounds and stuff like that. So if shooting changes and like shooting games change and people want a different thing other than Battle Royale, just having the free-to-play platform enables you to be like, okay, we can respond to that and we can make this free-to-play game whatever it needs to be to meet that audience. So they all want to have one going. And I know everyone's always going to say, like, there's only so many hours in the day. All of these things can't survive. And that's true. But like we always say, that applies to like packaged games as well. If someone's playing a lot of Warzone, yeah, they can't play another like shooter as a service, but then they're also not also buying those packaged games. The packaged game seems to still be more risk at this point. That doesn't mean that Ubisoft or Activision is completely giving them up, but I think as we see with Activision, they are scared of anything that isn't Call of Duty right now. So.
And there's some people in chat are mentioning Hyperscape, like Ubisoft already has Hyperscape, right, as a free-to-play battle royale, but I think they're looking at Call of Duty saying it sure does help to have a franchise already tied in things. And again, we don't know that this Division thing's going to be a battle royale, but I feel like it's going to be something like that, right?
Yep, I think so. Yeah. And then there's all the Epic versus Apple stuff. I guess the court case itself is ongoing. It does seem sort of as back and forth, and like both companies kind of don't look great as we predicted. The judge doesn't seem impressed by anybody involved. And so it's hard to predict which way this one's going to go, but it does seem like Epic is struggling a little bit to prove that Apple is a specifically hypocritical company like compared to all the other companies that sort of behave in pretty similar ways. That's not to say that I think Apple's doing anything right, but just it's hard to predict which way this case is going to go. That said, we do have a lot of little information tidbits that have dropped out of this case based on documents that some were supposed to be sealed and then accidentally got out, and then they're just like, well, no point in resealing them now. And some of the stuff is things that the people, witnesses, have said when under examination from the lawyers. I think probably the biggest one, I think, or the one that kind of got people's hackles up the most was Sony demanded crossplay revenue sharing Sony demanded crossplay revenue sharing with Epic. So basically what was happening is Epic was saying, hey, let's do crossplay. This is going to happen eventually, and we could frame it in a way where PlayStation looks like heroes and made the whole thing possible. And PlayStation's like, fuck you, pay me. They just like give us money, basically. And the thinking there is PlayStation absolutely was the cash cow for Fortnite, and PlayStation was worried that when people started to go play on other platforms, they could make purchases like on iPhone or on their Switch or whatever, and then continue to play with those purchases on PlayStation. So Sony stipulated that if a player's spending dropped to like 0.85, so like 85% from where it was previously 100% on PlayStation, Epic would have to pay Sony to make up that difference. And Sony was special in this case. Sony's the only one that asked for this stipulation. My thinking here is like, I am just not at all surprised by this, not even a little bit. Like that just sounds like what was the holdup originally, and Epic eventually agreed to say, yeah, we'll pay you, and that's what made it happen. I guess what is your thinking, Mike?
I mean, I'm always just kind of focused on how this whole case seems like Epic Games is just making no friends anywhere.
Right.
Right. Like, and I understand right now they can kind of afford to do that because they have the biggest game in the world. But man, they are really dragging Sony into the mud here.
I mean, everyone though,
all this stuff too. Everyone really. Like, I don't think Nintendo's super happy about their stuff like being shown off, or Microsoft. So I still don't know what they think they're getting out of this. This all just seems like it was a very bad idea.
So yeah, there's other tidbits, but the one I did mention here is that the Epic Game Store seems like an expensive crusade, and this lawsuit kind of vibes in that same exact way, where the reason companies usually settle, the reason they don't actually let something get to a court case, is exactly what we're seeing here. It's not just that like Epic has to hand over their documentation and that Apple has to hand over documentation, and a lot of this stuff ends up going public. Their partners and people, the companies that they work with, are being dragged in, and a lot of their documentation is being subjected to this court case as well. And everyone's going to look at Epic and being like, Tim Sweeney, this is because of you. You are the reason that our stuff is getting dragged out there and everyone's getting mad at us. And we know it's just because you hold this grudge against Apple. Every other like publicly traded sort of like fiduciary, like the company that has fiduciary responsibilities to their shareholders, never would have let it get this far, because they don't want to be in a situation where they have to explain to their partners why they let this happen. You don't care because you just don't care, and we could tell. And I think it's going to lead to some tough conversations for Tim Sweeney in the future. And I think I agree with you that he thinks that he can get away with it because it's the biggest game in the world. Also, Unreal Engine. Everyone does need Unreal. But boy, it just seems like a crusade, and I think it makes them look pretty bad. And yeah, no friends coming out of this. I think it's just going to be sort of cold.
I love these documents though, like that we're getting with just like these executives, like kind of like throwing shade or being passive aggressive. The greatest by far was when Tim Sweeney like wrote that email to Tim Cook about like the platform and all this stuff. And Tim Cook like CC like someone in his company like who's this? Was this the guy who was on our stage? Like give me that feeds my soul. I love it. Ooh.
Yeah. So it's just as petty as we always thought. I guess a lot of this stuff also confirms. We try to explain how the video game business works on the show, and a lot of that is informed from tidbits we hear or interviews we've done or just the way companies speak. But it's always on the margins because these companies are so secretive. And when their secrets come out, it's like, oh, it's exactly how we thought it was. It is, Microsoft saying we don't make money on on selling Xbox hardware ever. It's all about that 30% cut. It's like, yeah, like this is exactly how we thought it worked. Why wouldn't you just come out and kind of say this stuff? But they're used to being secretive, and when it's just shown to be like, okay, there's actually no reason for these secrets except for you're trying, I guess, to stay on that marketing good grace side of the consumer. But everyone knows how it works, so it's just weird to behave this way. Let's see if there's anything else from this that I wanted to touch on. I guess Fortnite generated more than $9 billion in revenue in its first 2 years, which is just a wild number. That is a big number. We talk about some of the biggest games in the world on mobile when, like in 2012 and 2013, when everyone's like, everything's going mobile, all the money's in mobile. Those games were making like $1 billion per year. So to be making on average $4.5 billion per year is just another league. So it's why like companies stopped looking at just mobile and they're like also mobile, but also free to play on consoles and free to play on PC. And we're trying to be the next Fortnite instead of trying to be the next Candy Crush or whatever. This is what spurred that. All right, I'm worried about this next one because I have to say a name again. So E3 expands, and I guess we might have said this last week, but Konami, oh God, Konami dropped out.
Oh my God!
Konami, I'm sorry.
What is Konami?
I don't know.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know, Mike. I'm a bad man. I'm sorry. Konami?
Yes, Konami.
I should have just deleted this. I should never even put myself in this situation.
Tell me, what about Konami, Jeff?
Konami dropped out of E3 because they don't have a game to show, but Square Enix, Bandai Namco, Sega, and Gearbox have joined the event. Mike, what games are these companies going to have? I'm so sorry.
Okay, apology not accepted, but we'll try to move on. Sega's got to have Sonic, right? It's been a very long time since we've seen a Sonic game, bizarrely long. So, like, it could be from
Nick Turbo, Komami.
Komami. Co-Moderna mommies. Right, so like, we could be seeing something from Sonic Team or from the Sonic Mania team or both. So, aside from that, who knows what else. They already talked about the new Judgment game today, so maybe they'll show that, but that's already been announced. Square Enix, right? Like Final Fantasy 16's the hope, right? That's what you hope they're bringing. I think a little bit more kind of optimistic is hoping that they announce Dragon Quest 12. Possibility, but no idea. It seems like
the right timing for that, though. And anything else?
I don't know. Bandai Namco will probably have some anime bullshit, right?
Yes.
I don't mean to be so dismissive. And Gearbox, I don't know. Wasn't Randy Pitchford being weird and basically implying like the next Borderlands again? So
yeah, I think he might have watched my video. It seemed like he responded on Twitter about like, people are saying that we're co-developing another Borderlands spinoff, and that's just not true. And I mentioned basically those exact words in my Game Mess show earlier that day. So I just wonder if someone pointed that to him or something and made him freak out. But I've heard that there's a Borderlands spinoff coming. And I guess I assumed that it would be co-developed, so maybe I didn't hear that part. But it just seemed like Gearbox would want to expand it without having to take up all its development expanding Borderlands when it could just be working on the next big game. But maybe not. Okay.
Exactly what they did with Tales from Borderlands, right? Like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Gearbox.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. So, but I guess we'll see. Bandai Namco, they're the company that is publishing Tales of Arise, right? They'll probably have stuff like that.
Yeah, they'll show that. I meant in terms of like announcements. Like I assume there will be like another Dragon Ball Z game. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. There'll probably be
there's always one, right? There's always like there's a game that's like it's Goku, but also that guy from One Piece and stuff like that, right? Like,
yeah,
and sure.
Yeah, exactly. And then Square Enix. I guess any of its Western studios will. I mean, another Tomb Raider, or Deus Ex.
It's that anniversary of Tomb Raider, right? And we haven't really heard very much about that. So I don't know. Like, it seems like Shadow of the Tomb Raider was not a very big deal. Probably like it's probably sold about a third maybe a fourth as much as Luigi's Mansion 3, right?
Right.
I don't know why I'm obsessed with comparing things to Luigi's Mansion 3, but I feel like it
10
makes
million copies for Luigi's Mansion 3. It's like maybe that should be the bar. Like, are you going to do better than Luigi's Mansion 3? In most games, no. So, I don't know. This is exciting. More companies joining E3. I guess we'll see. I wonder what all these showcases will look like.
I know a lot of people on our Discord that someone asked last week if they're hoping for more Deus Ex. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I mean Deus Ex. I mean the companies involved with that, right, are still sort of in that Avengers quagmire. So it'd be hard to extract them from that to get them to work on something like that so quickly. But I guess we'll see. Anything? Oh yeah, the last thing I have here is EA acquires Super Mega Baseball developer Metalhead. I think is the name of the studio. I didn't write it down here, but Super Mega Baseballs those are some very good games, and I think if EA gets them the MLB license, those games will immediately become the go-to arcade baseball game next to the show. So the show will be the simulation, and this will be the great licensed arcade game. But they're great even without the license. I still really like those games.
Yeah, there's opportunity there. Yeah, I mean, getting the license and getting getting the production values bumped up a bit with that EA money and that EA help, they could have something there. So that'll be interesting to see. EA hasn't really been in the baseball game since I think 2007 was their last college baseball game, and 2005 was the last time Triple Play was their series. That was the last MLB Triple Play. So I don't think those were ever super well regarded, unless I'm mistaken. But
I did want to. There was another game I was going to mention that Bandai Namco was going to bring to E3, but they don't make any other video games, so I don't know. There was something about some game called I don't even know the name of it. So yeah, it doesn't exist. So look. Okay, so I said in the Games Mess that I think it would be weird for Bandai Namco to show up here without Elden Ring. I still think that's true. It would be weird. Like even if you have Tales of Rise and whatever else to talk about, showing up and not at least mentioning where Elden Ring is would be a bad look, I would think. But maybe not. Who knows? I just think I would disagree. If I were them, I would want to stay home if that game wasn't ready to talk about.
That is true. Like, why even come into the light if you don't have that?
Right. You could always do other ways to show off these other games.
You could just wait.
And then, you could just wait if you don't have Elden Ring. But we'll see. Okay, Mike. That's all I have for news. Anything else happened this week? I didn't look too closely, but I think there was a lot of headlines.
That seems about right. It's funny because I thought this was going to be a crazy week, and it kind of was, but almost not as crazy as it could have been. I think we have a question about it, but I think a lot of us were expecting Battlefield getting announced.
We'll talk about that.
Week.
Yeah.
But we can go into these super chats.
Let's do the super chats, and then I'll have the questions ready after that.
Yeah. 5. Pronouncing Konami with an exotic Middle Eastern accent. He sure did.
I'm sorry.
I'm working backwards here, so don't freak out if you tipped early in the show. I'm going from earliest to latest. We'll get to these. But Faisal also said, did Xbox have any deal that you think is a wild card? Do they have any wild card deals? I mean, almost all their deals would be wild card deals at this point, right? Like, I don't know what they could do that would be like, oh, that's expected.
Right. I think they've got a few, I think. I still think that they're trying to get a Star Wars thing, even though the Coalition is definitely not working on a Star Wars game. But I still think that there's a chance they're trying to get a first-party Star Wars sort of exclusive. But I still don't know if we're going to hear about that anytime soon. I think on Star Wars Day, when I did my Game Mess show about that, and I mentioned that Lucasfilm Limited takes a long time to make these deals. I think that's going to mean that even if these deals are in the works, getting them finished by E3 would just be sort of unlikely. But that would probably be one. But there's, the global publishing is going to make some deals, but we've started to hear those teased already, like the Dragon game and some other stuff. So nothing new on that front.
I am actually going to go from latest to earliest here. That's going to make more sense. But Jay Lins 001 says, "Great work, guys. Love the channel. Thank you. Just want to let you both know there are great second-person books. What's your favorite second-party game ever?" I thought, man, when I think of second party, I always think of Rare.
Same
That's
here.
always the big example. Like I'm trying to think, what else would be a good example of a second
before Sony bought Insomniac,
Right.
Marvel's Spider-Man would have been what people call second party. But if you were to ask Insomniac and Sony, is that a second party game? They would have told you, no, it's a first party game. Sony's publishing it. There's no such thing as second party. But for our purposes, what people mean there, yes, Spider-Man would probably be one of my favorite second-party games of all time.
Maybe like Ratchet and Clank, Crack in Time. I feel like if thinking about Rare, it's like Donkey Kong Country maybe has to be the greatest second-party.
Yeah,
game of all time.
yes, definitely.
That's the best-selling game on the Super Nintendo, right? It's just crazy. So
yeah, and it's like even like then I think Nintendo owned Rare, so it was always weird like how people were defining. I guess maybe I don't know when Nintendo officially bought Rare, but it was around that time.
The second party game thing in general is confusing.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I like all those early Nintendo Rare games, and then yes, Marvel Spider-Man's probably my answer.
King 2002, Jeff, you got an idea of what Xbox will show at E3?
I have some idea. As we get closer, maybe I'll get more of an idea. No guarantees there, but I think it's. We've talked about this a lot in the past couple weeks. I do think stuff like Forza Horizon 5 seems likely. Obviously, there'll be a lot about Halo, and then maybe Starfield still is kind of where I'm at on that.
Mr. Miracle says, "Publishers are going rogue on your summer games mess. Is that in any way related to Sony? Seems like they want Ratchet and Intergrade out of the way first."
What was the first part of the question? Sorry, my kid was hollering at me.
Publishers are going rogue on your summer game mess. Is that in any way related to Sony?
I don't think so. I think publishers going. I think people might be referring to like Bethesda. They're like, oh, we haven't heard Bethesda say that they're part of this thing yet. But I think Bethesda's maybe coming more under Xbox wing for E3 than people originally thought. Xbox and Bethesda will still be a package deal. And then other companies going rogue, like maybe Konami. I think that's just them not having a game ready to show, and they thought they would. In terms of like other companies like slipping into July, maybe it could be some companies like I don't think we've heard like when EA Play is going to happen or something like that. Maybe it's something like that, but I don't know for sure yet. So we'll just keep an eye on it.
So Jedi Moss 4 here and Lucius Augustus asked pretty much the same question. I'll read Jedi's first. Are people freaking out too much over Halo Infinite? It seems Infinite has so many high expectations that may never be met. And then Lucius says, I asked this question last week, but I'll ask it again considering new news. Can Halo Infinite succeed despite unreasonably high expectations? I guess the first thing here, do you think expectations are too high for Halo Infinite?
They seem very high. People seem very on edge, I'll say, about that game. Any sort of news that isn't exactly like just good news, people are taking to heart and are worried about it. I think if the game comes out and is really solid, I still think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people who wanted it to be the best game ever made. So yeah, I think expectations are probably too high for some people, but I think there's a lot of people who will be pretty happy with it, and the vast majority of players will be okay. But we'll just, we'll have to see how it goes.
This is Microsoft's signature franchise, right? And it's the first one for the new console. And there's that whole weirdness with them delaying it for an extra year. So, expectations are going to be high. That's why it was delayed a whole year, right? Because they know just inherently they're going to be high. So, it's pardon the pun here. It's infinitely interesting, this game. I'm almost more interested in the reaction to it than the actual game in some ways.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Dovakin 89. Jeff, how does it feel to be PlayStation #1 public enemy? That's cooled down a little bit. Right?
Yeah. Resident Evil Village came out and everyone was focused on that instead. It was weird though when it happened. Like you just don't expect it when you're writing the review. I guess I expected a little bit, but it was like still like I don't think it's going to be too bad. I'm just going to put the review out there. People will read it and understand. And you just got to remember that, a lot of people aren't going to read the review, and they're just going to look at numbers, and they're going to frame those numbers in a way that they can get mad about and get their audience mad about. But yeah, it came and it went, and it's fine. And later this year, people will just like look back and be like, I think this was a fair assessment, and the people that were mad will have moved on, and they'll be mad about something else because they always need to be mad about something.
I mean, for whatever reason, there is now like this group of people who thinks that Jeff is a Microsoft fanboy and hates PlayStation. It's not based in reality at all. And everyone who watches this show knows that and understands that. And what can we do about it?
Yeah, you can't do anything. Like, yeah,
we try to explain to them.
I mean, I just am who I am, and it's like I'm not a cheerleader in the same way that like some of the people that they do consume are cheerleaders, and that's what they associate with being fair. And it's like, I can't ever be that way. So yeah, sorry, you're just gonna have to keep thinking whatever you're thinking, and that's fine. It's fine.
It's all right. All right, from Old Taco. I just got an OLED PlayStation Vita and it looks amazing. I'd absolutely get an OLED Switch if those rumors are real.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
I mean, an OLED screen makes sense for the Switch. I think it's a good upgrade. It's the kind of thing you can sell to hardcore gamers again. And I'll definitely buy another one if it has an OLED screen. So I agree.
RDX, Son of a Fett, just says Series X and S are FPS kings of the Gen 9. Ooh, I know you love when people say Gen 9.
Yeah.
Is that real? I mean, is that true? Is the PlayStation kind of matching it? Right?
I think, the problem, the only problem is the FPS boost with last gen games, right? Because
that is great.
Right. And so Mass Effect is coming out, and the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and it's going to be capped at 60 frames per second on PlayStation 4. And so there is no PS5 version, so there's no 120 frame rates, 120 hertz option on PS5. Whereas Xbox One supported 120 hertz, even though that game's not gonna run at 120 frames per second on an Xbox One or even an Xbox One X. But because the option was there, when they run that Xbox One version on an Xbox Series X, it will be able to get 120 frames per second. But that's like, we pointed out this out in a story a long time ago, and people did get mad because I pointed out, and it was a great response from a fanboy who was just like, "Oh, this FUD that you wrote, it just turned out to be true." And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I was writing facts, and you just took it as FUD, but whatever. The point is that like in some instances, especially when it involves backwards compatibility, Xbox will have the frame rate advantage. But as we get later in the generation, we're just going to get native games for these systems, and this will be less of an issue.
Pablo L says Jeff is a video game fanboy and loves all consoles equally. He gets checks from every single video game company and manufacturer. Jeff is rich.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell. Just look at me. You could tell I'm rich, right? I'm well groomed. I'm driving my Beamer. Yeah,
you are able to afford a light up
sign from Walmart.
Signboard. Yeah, that's pretty fancy. Walmart. I'm still shopping at the ruins of the Kmart in our town.
Oh yeah,
I'm still just digging through it for groceries.
You plebe, you disgust me.
Isma Easy says, "What happening with Battlefield? They're killing me." Wait, they said they were making one, so if it doesn't get announced before E3, it'll get announced at E3, right?
They said soon a few weeks ago, and that lined up with the early May that I heard back in March, and then so I put that in the games mess, and I asked again, and I was asking around, and it sounds like it did actually move from early May now till late May. So the timing, the general timing I have right now is maybe like May or June 1st, May 31st, but that's a Monday. I think that Tuesday of June 1st sounds about right. I do think it'll be before actual E3 because EA is not going to be at E3, and so and I think that timing makes some sense. I'm wondering why they moved it at all. I don't know for sure, but that's what I heard now. So later this month, early June, but before E3.
It seems like it's important for them to be ahead of E3. Huh?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I think that's the plan. Yes.
All right. RDX Son of a Fed also says Returnal is a $70 quick resume commercial. I know a lot of people are upset about the lack of like quick saving in that game. Like you can't save during a run, right?
Yeah, so you can't even save and quit, which would be the obvious option, right? Save and quit, and then when you start it up again, it destroys that save. I guess they're worried about people take advantage of that by like loading something from the cloud. But you're just gonna have to deal with that. Let people take advantage of it if they really want to, because when it's not just like you want to go play a different game and then you have to like abandon a run if your friend wants to play right now. If the game auto updates, you're going to lose your run, and that's like a real bummer. That's weird. It shouldn't work that way. But I personally didn't have much of an issue with this. I was just playing Returnal and only Returnal, and I lost some runs to bugs, and I guess that was a pretty devastating.
I've been hearing a lot of that. Is people like are losing runs because of like crashing.
Right, but like the runs are long, but it just in my personal experience, I wasn't ever sitting around being like, I wish I had quick resume. But I get why people do wish that this had it, and of course it would be better if it did. Of course it would be.
Yeah, Foss also said that the way you pronounce Konami sounds like you have an exotic Middle Eastern accent.
Konami. I don't want to actually try to do it. That seems weird, but yes.
Okay, well, when you try to do it, it turned into Italian somehow. So, yeah.
Konami. Oh.
Yeah. Josh Tarpley, Jeff, there has been a lot of talk on the Gaming Leaks subreddit. Hoping you can clarify. Any word on Ligma actually being announced next week? What is Ligma? Oh, shit.
Oh, no. Thank God it wasn't me this time. It wasn't me this time.
No. Oh, no. I was
fuck,
like, why
that's
is he
funny.
Laughing?
And Mike, Ligma balls.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, thank God.
Wow.
So so I got with I can't even remember now. It was, they put it right. He's got to go. He's got to Bofa. So I didn't know what Bofa was. Sorry, my kid's yelling at me. Oh my God. All right, and that does it. That was the last episode of the GamesBeat Decides podcast, everybody. Yes, I got with Bofa. Someone said, "Hey Jeff, what about Bofa?" I'm like, "Bofa? I don't know what that is." And of course, everyone's like, "Bofa D's nuts." I'm like, I've heard that before. Why didn't I just assume that that's what was happening? Holy shit, that was really, really well done.
I got got. I'm not gonna lie.
I trusted you, Mike.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah, sounds good.
Here's a nice question from Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Jeff and Mike, favorite Konami game?
Yeah, I think probably. Well, you go first. I want to hear.
Oh, real quick, Josh Tarpley just super chat again, just saying, ladies and gentlemen, we got it.
Thank you, Josh.
The big Konami games come to my mind when I think of my favorites are Metal Gear Solid 1, Snake Eater, Subsistence, basically, and Symphony of the Night.
I think all the Igavania games. I like Symphony of the Night, but I like all the ones. I played all the other ones on Game Boy Advance and DS first before I ever played Symphony of the Night. So, like Circle of the Moon is like I have a huge soft spot for that one. But really, any of the Igavania games. So.
Contra Hardcore is very good, but it is like I know. I mean, I'm not saying that game is too hard, but those games are hard, and after a certain point, like I'd rather just play like Gunstar Heroes, which is also very good and slightly easier to get through.
Yes, agreed.
All right, so that was fun. Man, we keep getting questions. Keep scrolling. Stephen Lamb, Jeff, which emulator handhold do you recommend?
Yeah, I the Retroid Pocket too, I think is very good. I would say maybe at this moment in time, hold off a little bit. I mean, obviously the Analog Pocket is coming, of course that is, but that's going to be really hard to get. It's expensive as well. But it seems like the next crop of these Chinese emulator handhelds is going to include bigger screens, like 5-inch screens, and most of them right now are like 3.5-inch screens, and that's fine, especially like. If you get like a native 4:3 aspect ratio, it's really cool to play like Super Nintendo games on that or whatever. Retroid Pocket 2 is very good at that. But I am interested to see what these larger screen ones actually look like. They should be starting to get more powerful processors as well. Maybe Dreamcast will be very easy to emulate. Maybe even start to get it maybe a little bit above that. Probably not anytime soon. But I really like the Retroid Pocket 2, and if you want a bigger screen, just wait a little bit longer. A good resource for this is retrododo.com. I like going there, and I like their videos, so I would keep an eye on them and see what they say about these bigger screen retro pockets.
Blake Merritt, weekly Death Stranding question. Any news on a PlayStation 5 version or extended edition? Thanks.
Yeah, no news about that yet. I do wonder if we'll hear about that at E3. I think maybe someone would want to put that on their stage and just say, "Oh yeah, and it's coming to Xbox," or it's getting obviously I think it was published by Sony on PlayStation, so that seems unlikely. But who knows what deal Sony made with them and like how long those publishing terms actually last. I don't know if it's coming to Xbox, but if it's on someone's stage, maybe it is PlayStation just saying, "Oh, and it's getting a native PS5 version or whatever." But I don't know. I haven't heard anything like one way or the other.
Mattathias asks, "Is there a Star Wars game you never tried that you always wanted to play?" For me, it's X-Wing versus Tie Fighter. Man, people who really love those games, and I never played them either. So that is one for sure. Part of me always wants to play Bounty Hunter just because I swear when that game came out, everybody was like, "Yeah, it's not very good," blah blah blah. And now it comes up a lot as one that people liked.
I like it.
So I'm like, "Yeah, you're one of them." I'm like, what? I thought Bounty Hunter was like mediocre. So I kind of want to try that one. What about you, Jeff? Anything
It's
come to mind?
mediocre in the way that like a good Star Wars game is mediocre. Like like if it was any other game, like it would be kind of boring. But
The reception to it seemed obviously worse than, say, for Republic Commando.
yeah, yeah. But I think it does some interesting stuff, and it's like cool to play as Django in that world. They did a good job, I think. But for me, it's Knights of the Old Republic 2. I never actually played through that game.
Yeah, I did start it. I mean, there's that patchwork that the fans have done to kind of put the ending back in. So yeah,
Exactly.
so
Yeah, I want to play
one.
the patch version. Yeah, but that's me. And then I'm right there with him about the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and really TIE Fighter is the one I'd really want to play because I hear that one's actually the real classic.
Christian just figured out how to do like the my heart hand thing as just like emojis. That's pretty nice. Jalen's 001. Jeff and Mike, you're great. Hey, thank you. You're great too.
Thank you so much.
What's your least favorite console ever, and how much money would Microsoft give you to become a cheerleader? They won't give us any money. We're not worth it, and they know it.
Yeah.
Gosh,
We're too critical. We'll turn on a dime. So yeah, we're not worth it.
gosh, at least your console. I mean, I could be cheap and just like because all of like the Atari like 2600 and television stuff was just before my time, so I don't really care about any of that stuff. If we're talking about like the real consoles, I don't know. Like the original Xbox doesn't do very much for me, I guess. Like I have no animosity towards it. You know what? I don't like the PSP. I am not a big fan of the PSP. I liked the Vita almost every way better. I never got into the PSP. I thought that its nub was kind of annoying, and it had a lot of games that wanted analog controls, and you had to use that little nub thing, and it just was uncomfortable. So yeah, that one never jived with me. I didn't even like Luminous very much, and everybody freaking loves Luminous, so I'll say PSP.
Yeah, my least favorite. I think I'm on record really not liking either the PS4 or the Xbox One in terms of hardware. But the PS4 at least had some pretty big games, so Xbox One probably is my least favorite hardware, especially that first gen.
No, Jeff, you hate PlayStation. Remember?
I know I messed up. Bill Gates is going to cancel the check. Damn it. He doesn't have any money. He just got divorced, so I don't care anymore.
Oh, that's right. Oh no, that's sad. RDX Son of a Fett just kind of getting back to me a bit when we're talking about frame rate. Just says almost 120 frames per second games per series.
Yeah, it's
That
impressive.
My TV does not have 120 megahertz, so I can't enjoy 120 frames per second. So I guess that's part of my disinterest there. Fossil77 is back and says, with all the features that PlayStation 5 is missing and how the machine feels like a soft upgrade of the PlayStation 4 Pro, is it worth $500? I don't know. I don't think it feels like a soft upgrade of the PlayStation 4 Pro. I think it's a pretty substantial upgrade, just in terms of even like the tech and how good games look on it. So, I mean, it's always hard for me to tell somebody it's something worth $500 to you. I don't know. It was for me, and not that I did get one for work, so I didn't have to pay $500 for it, but I would have.
Yep, I did, and I was happy to, and because I think it's I think the way, sorry, kids are yelling, but I think in the way that it upgrades is actually really important. The SSD really is worth it. I think that the being quieter in a lot of cases is really worth it. I mean, I got one without a disk drive, so it doesn't even have the disk whine. I like, I think it's just both this and the Xbox are both just really good hardware. And then we're going to see that like the graphics capabilities and the CPU capabilities pay off later in the generation. I'm pretty confident about that. So
right.
I'm happy
I think
with
it's
it right now.
I think it's certainly worth it that there's going to be some longevity to these things. Like
yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
They came out very powerful, so they're going to last for a bit here.
Yep, I agree.
Brett Bingham asks Jeff, what about Koei Tecmo having an event?
Why can't you say words right, Mike? Why are you always messing up these names?
That's 3 vowels in a row. That's just cheating.
Yeah, what about them having I think they are in a situation where they're doing a lot of work for other companies, and so I don't know if they're going to have enough to show. I guess maybe I don't know enough about Koei Tecmo's lineup. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I know they're always supporting Nintendo games. They're always helping out with like, they're always like working on the next sort of Warriors game or the Warriors spinoff or the branded Warriors games. So I don't know. I think that they might not have enough to show, but I guess we'll see. I think, the ESA would love to have them in there if they have something to show, but I just don't know if they will.
Psychonauts just says, "What's up, everyone, and happy Friday." It is Friday. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Infernal Tim says, "I'll give you money. You're worth it to me." Talking about Microsoft not wanting to use us for their marketing schemes. Sorry, I'm not a $1 trillion corporation. Though. That's okay, Tim. I'll still take your money. And then last one here for now. Sean Bond, Joe V says, "Any talk of a new Metal Gear game in the works?"
No talk. There's always those rumors. Always people saying that people are trying to license the Metal Gear brand or whatever. But nothing official. Nothing like that's actually coming from sources at Konami right now. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a brand that they can't sit on for too long. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that something will happen with it eventually. But or they could just completely mismanage it. And we don't get another Metal Gear game for 15 years or something.
I mean, they don't want to release another. What was that? Metal Gear Survivor.
Metal Gear Survive. Yeah.
Yeah, which was that didn't make any kind of noise, right? Yeah. So, and it also seemed like it was obviously going to be a disaster from far away. So I don't know, but. Something. I mean, if I was them, I'd beg Platinum to come back and do another Metal Gear Rising. That's just something you can do. Really, without Hideo Kojima, you could do that one, or Hideo Kojima. That's what I would do if I was them.
All right, I got questions here. Nick Turbo asks, in your guys' opinion, what is the best thing Phil Spencer has done to the company since becoming head of Xbox? What is something he still needs to improve on? I really like him. He really seems to respect the medium of video games, especially compared to his predecessor. What do you think, Mike?
I think just the speed in which they react to things is probably the best strength there. They seem to be on top of how gamers are feeling, right? And we saw that with the Xbox Live Gold thing, right? They are just very good about getting ahead of that stuff. I don't like in terms of, I'm thinking about things that he needs to improve. I feel like Microsoft's they're doing pretty well. They just need to do what they're doing in terms of making sure that all of those investments are going to pay off and people are releasing games and they're going to be able to start talking about them, which, that's something they need to do, but it's also something I expect them to do. And it's obviously something they can't do quite yet. So I think he's been doing a great job. What about you? I know you're more of a Jim Ryan guy, as your
of course, everyone knows that. Yeah. I will say that I think that his the best thing is really figuring out how to make Game Pass work for them and for developers, and being able to confidently invest in making a lot of different kinds of games instead of being afraid to make games. I think when he took it over, it wasn't like this was always his idea. When he took over, he was like, man, making games seems like a fool's errand or whatever. Everyone's always just playing Destiny for forever. And then realizing that there was a way to you make a lot of games and still make money off it. That's impressive. It was a smart move, and I'm glad that's the direction they're headed, because it makes Microsoft like a valuable addition to the business, in terms of like being a gamer and being like, okay, they're going to contribute a lot of cool stuff. But it also enables a lot of developers to continue making games the way they always have. And then he still needs to improve on like making sure that the games that they're making can be the best that they possibly can be. Like not settling for games being like 7s and 8s, like actually delivering on the polish that other companies are really good at, especially Sony. Seeing these games through to the end and not just sort of letting 343 wander off for a couple years and come back and be like, okay, actually we have to delay Halo Infinite. Maybe riding these companies' asses a little bit more is what he should be doing. Maybe it's not his style, but maybe he should be.
There certainly are people who probably would have just released Halo Infinite last year, and it would have been a disaster. Yeah,
it's good that he didn't. Yes, but it's like probably shouldn't have gotten into that situation in the first place.
Jeff, ask this next question. You start answering first. I desperately have to go to the bathroom, but I'll be listening.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sounds good.
Hopefully nobody hears me.
Oh God, I hope he mutes himself. All right, from Benji Bop. Happy Friday, Jeff. Jeff Bofa Grubb. Listen, that nickname is old. We got to call Mike Ligma Minotti, but you said Mike, fellow people mover enthusiast. Mike Ligma Minotti. Do you think Sony implemented similar cross-play compensation for other titles like they did Epic? Epic confirmed that they did not. So this was asked earlier this week, or no, it was asked today. But yeah, Epic confirmed that Sony's the only company that had that cross-play deal. And then what was the rest of the question here? Or once the train got rolling, they stopped playing hardball on the matter. Thanks as always. Have a great weekend. Okay, so yeah. Basically, Sony was the king of the hill when it came to revenue from Fortnite, so Sony could make those demands. But also, they were like the only company like willing to like stand that ground. It's not like, you know, Microsoft makes up a sizable pie of a piece of that pie for Fortnite. It wasn't like 90% was coming from PlayStation. It was like 48% of revenue came from PlayStation 4, and then 28% came from Xbox. That's still a lot. That's billions of dollars there. But Microsoft was clearly like trying to make these moves and not trying to be a stick in the mud about this stuff and not trying to get theirs, because they were seeing like, okay, you know, we're not the top, we're not the king of the hill, so we're not going to make too many demands, and this will actually benefit us if people can have that portability across different platforms. But Epic confirmed, you know, just flat out in court like during testimony, Tim Sweeney said no, Sony's the only one that had that deal. All right, so Mike Minotti's on his way back right now. Actually,
I agree with everything Jeff said.
He called you a fellow people mover enthusiast. Do you want to talk about that at all? Do you want to explain yourself there? Is that a Disney thing?
Oh, People Mover is my favorite ride in Disney World. All it is a it's basically like a fancy train monorail thing, like an elevated. And it just goes around Tomorrowland, and you just get to see some nice sights. And sometimes you go into dark tunnels, and then there's like, for no reason, a statue of like a robot hairdresser. It's fantastic. I have a replica sign of it in my bedroom.
There's a people mover in Detroit that I would ride on when I was young, and whenever we'd go like to the Detroit Auto Show, and you would take the people mover into the event, into the venue or whatever. But yeah,
I think the one you're talking about is like the only other one.
I think so. Yes, I think yes. Yeah. It was like a big deal. Yeah.
Disney invented it because back when they wanted to actually make a city in Florida, that's what Epcot was going to be. People movers were going to be like the public transportation.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And people have a lot of fond memories of the people mover in Detroit. All right. This one's from Ray Mogos. Happy Friday, fellas. You must buy one game, rent one game, and one game goes away forever. This is a new one because I think he did one of these last week.
This last week. This was fun.
This is a good game. All right, so here you go. Aliens, Colonial Marines. Now remember, you must buy one. You must rent one.
Oh no.
Metal Gear Survive and Balan Wonderworld.
Oh God. Oh, it's funny that Metal Gear Survive just came up again, huh?
Yeah, totally.
We're probably the only show that independently brought up Metal Gear Survive twice.
Regularly, yeah, exactly. Okay, man. One game goes away for. Okay, listen. I played Metal Gear Survive and Balan Wonderworld. I don't know if I ever played Aliens Colonial Marines. I will say that Metal Gear Survive is it is really boring and miserable to play. I guess Balan Wonderworld is miserable, but I don't know if it's as boring. Like, it's a bad game. It is a 1 out of 5. I gave it a 1 out of 5. But it was at least, if other people are watching you play it, they are entertained by how miserable you are. So you could have someone sit next to you, and you could always show it to someone. So I might buy Balan Wonderworld. I will ask Metal Gear Survive to go away forever, and I will rent Aliens Colonial Marines to actually try it.
Yeah, I'm also annihilating Metal Gear Solid Survive. I have no interest in that. And then
it's bad.
I'm actually gonna rent Ballin', and then I'll buy Alien. I mean, it's a first-person shooter, right? Like, how bad?
Yeah, you're a big Randy Pitchford fan, yeah.
Yeah, big Randy Pitchford fan. I want to give him money. That's for sure.
that was a good one, Ray. Keep those coming. That's fun. All right, let me scratch these out. I got a few more. Another one from Nick Turbo. Sorry for all the FPS Boost questions, but I really love the program. I have a few more. First, do you think a large dump of games at one time will become the norm, or was that a one-time thing? When do you think they will start implementing it into Xbox 360 and OG games? Finally, do you think Sony will do something similar with PS4 games?
And I wish they would do it for the 360 games, because very recently I downloaded Mirror's Edge, like the original Mirror's Edge, onto my Xbox One, like the 360 version, and like that game's running at 30 frames per second. Ooh. And that's like, it's all right. I'm like, Come on, I can't boost this thing. That'd be so great. Like I know Catalyst can now go at 120 or something, right?
Right.
So that yeah, 360 games would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Although like those are games that people would rather remaster and stuff too, though, right?
that's
like
a good point.
Mass Effect.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do wonder if I wonder if it would require a little bit more work because you know the APIs those games were hooking into on the Xbox One very similar to what they're hooking into on the Xbox Series X and S. And it would have been probably significantly much more different. DirectX back then was pretty different than what it is now. So I wonder if it would require more work, and it isn't so much flipping a switch. And then as for large game dumps all at one time, they did a whole bunch of games this time. I wonder if they could maybe do that one or two more times, but eventually they are going to run out of stuff that is very easy to do. I think.
I mean, isn't that what they used to do back when it was like adding backward, like like the backwards compatibility games, like they used to be giant dumps, and then after a while it was kind of smaller buckets, right?
That's right. And then as for Sony doing the same thing with PS4 games, the thing is that this is the result of a lot of engineering work that Microsoft has done for years with backward compatible stuff, and the graphics API on the PS5 is distinct from the graphics API on the PS4, and Sony doesn't seem interested in doing the work to like sort of link those and to make them like make the continuance from one to the other more solid. So I think it's unlikely. It's Sony has already seen what Microsoft is doing, and they could have made the decision a long time ago to say, yeah, we'll make a similar investment. And to me, it seems like they have made the choice to say it is not worth our time or money. Our fans, they want mostly to buy new games, and we're not going to do this because we won't get a return on that investment. So I don't think that's going to change, and that's fine. I mean, they're not wrong that most people want new games.
I have a question for you and for chat maybe. So I really want to play some Ratchet and Clank games right now, and I only have the PlayStation 5 out. I already played the PlayStation 4 game that just got the boost. There's PlayStation 3 games I could play on my PlayStation 5 from the Ratchet series, but they're all through PlayStation Now, and it's not like the download option. It's only the streaming. Does that like work actually? Like, is that going to be just fine for me, or am I with a 3D shooty platformer? Is there going to be lag, and am I going to get mad?
I think PlayStation Now is okay. It's not as good as Stadia in terms of tech. Stadia was really good, but that was Google, and Google has like server nodes everywhere. I think PlayStation Now is still fine for the most part. I recently streamed some games, and I think there was some instances where I was getting lag, but for the most part, it was just fine. I mean, look, you can get PlayStation Now in a discount a lot of times. It might be worth checking out, but
I might just bite the bullet and get a month because like I want to play. Like I'm so excited for Rift Apart. I'm like I can play into the Nexus or something.
Yeah, it's like $10 a month now, right? Like
it's really,
I would get. I mean, have you signed up before? Maybe they still do like a free like week or something.
I must have because I can't get a free trial, so I must have like right when it happened and tried it. I think I did do that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think it's probably worth it. Probably or like play. Aren't there some like good PSP ones that you could like emulate or something? You could do that instead.
I mean, no, I don't think any of the. There are PSP ones. I don't think anybody it calls any of them like among the best. There's
okay.
Like
Be careful with that because people get mad at you when you talk bad about the PSP.
Yeah, they do, man. People, but what? Because size matters was okay. I am interested in Secret Ancient Clank just because I like Clank so much. But
right. Yeah.
Let's see.
All right. Another one from Nick. Have either of you ever seen or ever been to SawCon? So I'm assuming this is the convention for the movies Saw.
No,
Nick. We're both cowards.
You couldn't drag me to that. Oh my God.
I understand that the lore in Saw is very intricate and fun, and I keep meaning to eventually maybe watch those movies. I just never am in the mood for it. Yeah.
I'm a coward, and we'll talk about that a bit more, but no way would I go. I'm not going to any horror movie convention thing.
Another one from Benji Bop. Not a question, but did want to shed some more light on Mike's comments on Blizzard. According to the new game director, Aaron Keller, Overwatch had a 10 million player increase in the last year, even though no new maps or modes have come out. And that was from a PC Gamer article. And it says, yeah. But I think that might active like 10 million more like registered players. Like that's not. I don't know if that's active players.
That seems like there might be some creative like number work going on there. Like I just find it impossible to believe that more people are playing Overwatch this year than were 2 years ago. Especially when we know that apparently all of Blizzard has lost 29% of its player base, right?
Right.
Like
That was in their
that's in their
report to investors,
earnings.
which they cannot try to fib on
Yeah,
that.
so I, I don't know. I don't know how they're getting that number.
I mean,
Maybe,
I know, I believe
maybe
that
I'm
they
just
have
completely wrong.
10 million more registered players. Like that seems possible. But it would come on the heels of like big sales and stuff like that. And are those players as active as the fans who were playing before? And have they lost more than 10 million active players per month in the intervening time? And I think that's very likely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So has Apple Arcade been a success? And this one comes from Eric. Mike, I don't have any iOS devices, and I keep meaning to maybe get an Apple TV to play some recent Apple Arcade releases that seem very interesting to me, including that Fantasian. But I haven't made the move on the Apple TVs. Are still just a bit too expensive. But how about you? Any interest in Apple Arcade?
I don't know. Like even when a game does come to it, like Fantasian, my thing is like I will wait for that to come to an actual console.
Yeah, because they always come to the Switch almost. So yeah.
But look, I just don't like playing games on my phone very much. Not really.
I think
it's not really the way I want to do it.
I don't know if it's been a success. They keep supporting it. They keep doing these big drops, and there's a lot of cool games in there. Clap Hands Golf. People are really into that. So I don't know. It seems like something they're going to keep at, and and to that degree, it's probably successful enough that they think it's not worth abandoning.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't think it's in imminent danger of going away, which is for one of these kind of things. That's pretty good.
Pretty good. This last one's from Eric. What do you think is the future of Giant Bomb? I'm a big fan of those guys over there. If people don't know, three of the core members, Brad Shoemaker, Vinny Caravella, and Alex Navarro, are all leaving today. Today's their last day. And they're like core to that group. It just seems like, according to what they said this past week, Red Ventures, their new owners, is putting a lot of like thought and money into Giant Bomb and like trying to figure out what the future is. It just seems like they're also going in a direction where those guys either, I don't know if they were like uncomfortable with it, or they're just like the work it would have required them to do might be so different that they're like, you know what, let's get out here and let someone new handle this. It kind of seems like the direction they're headed. I don't know. Jeff Gerstmann's staying. Some other people are staying. And I think that, I know their podcast, Giant Bombcast, is very successful. So was the Beastcast, like tens of thousands of listeners. And if you have a podcast that is that successful, that can continue to act as your core product, and maybe you could build stuff around that. So, I think they'll be able to figure some new stuff out. But as for what it will look like, that's just a tough question. I'm glad I'm not in charge of figuring that out. So good luck to them. Mike, that's it for questions. Do you have any other super chats, or should we go to the games?
We got a few more super chats while you're talking about that. So Lucius Augustus asks, "How are you a coward but play scary games?"
That's why we're cowards.
I usually don't.
Yes. Yeah.
So and we'll talk about. But I reviewed Resident Evil 8 because like no one else was around, and I will say this: like scary games do not bother me nearly as much as scary movies for whatever reason. I think it's just because I play games so much that I have not a detachment, I guess, but for some reason I can handle it more. I'm more comfortable in that world for whatever reason. Rand All Thor 19. Hey Jeff, if you were Xbox and Starfield was ready for release this fall, would you release it alongside Halo and Forza Horizon 5, or save it for like March 2022?
If I were Xbox and it was ready to go, I would release it this holiday. I think that so there are historical examples of games from the same publisher trampling over one another, and I think the most obvious one is Titanfall, but I don't think that was just because it was between Call of Duty and Battlefield. I think EA also just didn't know how to market it and didn't know which audience to speak to, and they did a bad job all around with that game. I think that for the most part, these things are complementary and additive. And when people get excited about video games and they get excited about like Ratchet and Clank, they do want to go out and buy Returnal. Like that was my recent example. And I think that if you get someone excited about going to buy an Xbox, or going out even just to buy Xbox games, and they see that Starfield is there while they're waiting for Halo, they'll buy Starfield and they'll play it while they wait for Halo, and then they'll buy Halo as well. And then this is like even before you take Game Pass into consideration, which makes all of this incredibly additive and incredibly complementary, where you like if both these games are coming out soon, or are both in the store this holiday on Christmas Day, when you get your Xbox and you open it up and you're like, okay, so now all I have to do is buy Game Pass and I get both these things right away. Like that is, it's such a slam dunk. So I don't think with Game Pass, the idea of like games from the same publisher competing is kind of not really going to be a thing anymore. It's all going to be part of the reason you want to subscribe in the first place. And then, you know, if you play a mostly Halo through your Christmas break or whatever, and you still have Starfield waiting there, that's a reason to keep your subscription. So yeah, if I were them, I would release them side by side almost, and not even blink an eye.
Joe 90 Superstar says, is it true Jim Ryan's now on Phil Spencer's shelf as he got owned as part of the MLB deal?
Jeez, I hope not.
True.
I hope Jimmy's doing good out there. I hope Jimmy's playing Returnal and having a good time.
That's nice on that shelf. He's got.
Yeah, it is a nice shelf. Yeah. It's, also, I meant to say thanks for showing up, Randall. Randall Thrower. I always want to just say Randall, but I'm not sure if that's exactly how I should say your name, man. Yeah.
Hey, Kyle Martin just sent a super chat with no
thank you, Kyle,
or anything, but thank you very much. Stephen Lamb says the award for best Bethesda game goes to ? Well, I know for you it's Wolfenstein 2, right?
Yeah, I really, really, really like Skyrim a lot, and Oblivion, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know it's boring, but Skyrim's probably the right answer. I think.
Yeah, but I also am deeply in love with the Wolfenstein franchise, and Wolfenstein 2 is great. Yeah, Wolfenstein 1 maybe plays a little bit better, but Wolfenstein 2's story just keeps getting so outlandish. It's like one of the game stories I actually care about.
Okay, this is the last one we have for now. Hello, Jeff and Bald Jeff. On the documents of the Epic trial... One second, I'm still reeling from that.
Don't be mean to Mike, everybody.
I mean, you're not wrong. On the documents of the Epic trial, Microsoft had a ton of redacted games and a better name for Ballin. Any idea of what they are? Yeah, there was Ballin Wonderland apparently for a bit there.
Yep. That's incredible.
That's exciting news.
Yeah, to me, it's like, oh my God, they were like, Wonderland, Wonder World. What are we gonna call this stupid thing? Whatever. I almost wonder if it's a mistake. I almost wonder if they were like, hey, it is Balan Wonderworld, and then someone at Square Enix like, all right, Balan Wonderland, yeah, of course, that's some dumb shit.
It's incredible that it was on a list of like upcoming major releases, or whatever it was.
Yeah, kind of an oxymoron there. In terms of, I don't know, I'd have to like look and see what games they did like confirm like that were actually public on that list, and then what was actually like how much was redacted. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not sure, but
yeah, it's impossible to know really.
You know, they probably have stuff like Dragon Quest 12 on that list and stuff because we know that's coming eventually, and they're gonna probably announce it soon. So probably stuff along those lines.
RDX Son of a Fett just jumped in here. You think the PlayStation 5 redesign is because of bad yields? Is there a PlayStation 5 redesign?
There was, yeah. So I think there was a word that they're going to redesign the internals. I think it's not necessarily because of bad yields. I mean, bad yields are probably plaguing everybody, but especially Sony because they were trying to run that really high clock speed on PS5s. I think it's about just saving money. It's about saving money. It's about you know, they confirmed in all of their earnings since the PS5 came out that this thing loses money. It loses quite a bit of money for every PlayStation 5 they sell.
Which isn't too unusual.
It's not too unusual, but it is more unusual these days. And those yields probably are making it more expensive than they even predicted it would be. And I think anything they could do to sort of bring those costs down will help. And you know, they're going to have options like TSMC is going to give them, you know, new options. If they can get like, honestly, if they just port it to 5 nanometer, if Apple will relinquish some control over that, they could save a lot of money. They could make it a lot smaller, make it a lot quieter. And they probably won't redesign the externals, but just, I think that's kind of where they're aiming. And we know that, this stuff happens all the time. Nintendo did it. That's why we got the longer battery life Switch, which looks exactly the same on the outside, but it has a longer battery life because it has a more efficient internal.
I guess it is surprisingly soonish. So
I think it's soon to hear about it, but I bet it won't. I bet we won't actually see it for quite some time. So probably like a year or so.
Yeah, I just noticed my calendar's still in April, and that is driving me bonkers. So you go ahead and talk about the next thing. Everyone can watch me do this in real time.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, someone's like, oh yeah, it's what's he doing?
What do we got? We had Deep Space Nine. What's next?
Okay? Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh man, that's the original Enterprise.
All right, yay!
In like the ship build. Ooh, this thing like doesn't want to reach. Oh man. Oh, there it goes. We did it.
I mean, Ralph and Chad's like, oh, they're losing money because it's selling so well. That has nothing to do with like them losing money on PS5s because they cost more to make than what they sell them for. Sony themselves said in their earnings that the strategic pricing of the PS5 is lower than the cost to manufacture. That's just the way it is. That's not unusual. That has happened throughout the consoles. So they are losing money on the hardware itself. They're not losing money on the PlayStation 5 brand. They're making a ton of money from content and selling games and services. Like we went over that when they reported their earnings. But the PS5 hardware itself does cost more than what they sell it for, $500, $400. And so anything they could do to bring down that price will help them make even more money, and they're concerned about that. They are very. I mean, that's why they closed down like Japan studios, because it wasn't as profitable as they wanted it to be. They're very concerned about profit margins, and anything they can do to pad that, they are going to focus on. Microsoft's going to redesign the internals for the Xbox as well. This is not unusual. This is going to happen across the board. All right, Mike. I don't have any other questions. We don't have any other super chats. So you want to talk about some video games and then get out of here?
Yeah, you want to hear about Resident Evil 8?
Yeah, tell me about Resident Evil 8-age. Yeah, Village. 8-age. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, again, I'm not exactly a big horror guy. Like I could not play very much of Resident Evil 7 because that one was very scary.
Yes, that seems too spooky for me.
It was also like straight up like taking inspiration clearly from stuff like Saw and whatnot, which, you know, made a lot of sense. But I remember having to play like the VR demo at E3, and the poor Capcom PR people basically had to like hold my hands the entire time. Like that's how bad it was for me. But I reviewed Resident Evil 8 Village, or just Village, I guess, and it is good. It is very good. It is very. I don't think it's as scary as 7, and the people who really like 7 even say the same thing. It's not quite as scary as that. Surprisingly, a good amount of like Resident Evil 4 vibes here. It's not quite as action focused as that even, but it is more so than 7. There's a decent amount of shooting, and there are some sections that are just straight up really focused on the action element. But like you have the village, like the Eastern European village. You have like the castle to go through. You have like the kind of weird, creepy shopkeeper guy. The inventory system, it looks very similar to 4's. So there was more 4 DNA in here than I thought, and I like 4. Resident Evil 4 is my favorite.
4's a lot of fun.
So that was nice. That's nice. Yeah, people are already saying like, speak about Lady Demis. God, I still can't say her name. Tall lady.
Dimitrescu, something like that.
It's not Skew. You don't pronounce.
I know they say that in the game. I guess that's how they pronounce it is Dimitrescu.
Demitrescu or something. Demitrescu, I think is right. Yeah. I mean, she's great. The problem is like, so the structure of the game is that there's like the big bad. And she has like 4 lieutenants, which each their own area, and you have to go to all of them. And Lady Tall Lady is just like one of those 4. So like her section of the game is maybe 1/4 of the game. I would say is about right. And I think that's going to be disappointing.
I got to go take a kid to the potty. I'll be right back.
Okay, very good. Well, when I go to the potty, it's okay, but kids going, I don't know about that. So yeah, it's a little weird that her whole section of the game is really just 1/4 of it. And maybe it should have been the whole game. Like maybe this whole game should have just taken place inside her castle, and she should have been chasing you the whole time. She is the best part of the game, and that was my favorite section of the game. Like everything else is fine. It's not bad, but it does feel a bit like Resident Evil 8, kind of Resident Evil Village peaks because of that. Like, and obviously you're in the village quite a bit, and you know that's fine. Wasn't quite as interesting as creepy tall vampire lady and her weird bug daughters chasing you through a really impressive castle. It is impressive. The game looks fantastic. I played it on PlayStation 5. Looked very good. Really, even on just like the ray tracing mode, it seemed like pretty high frame rate the entire time. The only like graphical oddity I noticed was I was on the rooftops, and like the tiling texture would sometimes kind of pop into a higher res texture when I was like only 10 feet away. Aside from that, like that RE engine looks very good, and this like, you know, Resident Evil 2 remake looked fantastic, and this looks just about as good as that. But you know, again, I'm a coward, but I still got through this pretty okay. There were some jump scares, but nothing that really upset me. Probably because the game kind of trains you to be on edge most of the time anyway, so I was ready for that. There's one section of the game that is the scary section, and you know, I don't want to talk about too much because it's spoilers, and also because Capcom told me not to, and I'm a good boy. But that part was pretty scary. That was the closest I came to like almost being uncomfortable and being like, oh, this is too much for me. I can't wait to get past this. But it was like, in terms of how scary things can be entertaining, it did that very well. Some of the most interesting stuff is with the ending, and I wish I could talk about that, but I don't want to yet. Obviously, the game came out today, but I think that's where interesting conversations are going to happen, and that's something I'm very curious to see how people react to it. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the next one. But I liked it. I did. Like again, not. I was worried that it would be too scary for me. It would be too much for me. I ultimately was able to get through it. I also liked the length of it. It's about 10 hours long. Like it took me 9.5, and I did a few side things. And there are side things to do. There are kind of extra areas you can explore because it is, again, like it's like that hub area is the village, and you kind of have area where the lieutenants are hanging out, and you go and fight them. But if it was much longer than that, I don't think I would have been happy because again, it is stressful, and there's only so much time I want to spend in a game that's stressful. Like I checked out of The Last of Us Part 2 after 10 hours because like much more than that with that kind of game was a bit too much for me.
Same here.
So Jeff, yeah, that's what I think about it. The big takeaway there, I guess the one thing I wanted to ask you about is like, are you surprised to know that tall lady is really only like a fifth or a fourth of the game? Like she's not the main antagonist.
I'm a little surprised. I kind of wonder if it would be if it would have been better. I don't know. I wish they would have made her the one and only, or at least made her like the commander and made like her daughters like the four lieutenants.
Yeah, and I feel like they're probably caught a little bit off guard that she became such a breakout star just in the pre-marketing things, and maybe they're like, oh, well, if we had known, like maybe maybe this game should have just been about her and her castle. But there's a design doc like, yeah, here's the bad guy. She's gonna have 4 lieutenants, and oops, one of the ones we designed is super popular and actually very well made, and maybe that should have been the whole game, but it's not. So, and that's fine. People are gonna remember her section very well, and the other sections are still good. Just none of them are as good as that. So that is the biggest issue with Resident Evil 8 is that it peaks with that stuff with Lady Demastra, Damasco. And I would have been probably happier if the whole game was that, but it is still very good. I think people who like Resident Evil are going to be happy.
Yeah,
it looks very good too. It is that's what, like people who just have a new console who want to get a big AAA game that's going to look good. Like this is great for that.
I started up the demo on Stadia on my phone because it was like, that way I don't have to download something on whatever and worry about it being on whatever hard drive anywhere. And I'm like, man, this just looks fantastic. It looks so good. The characters' faces, of course, animate very well, but the worlds look very realistic. And I'm like, I might want to play it just because of that. Like, I just want to play a game that looks this fantastic right now. So it like holds up the entire way. It's always kind of, is it throwing new stuff at you? Are the new environments like impressive or what?
Yeah, they are. But again, like that castle with her.
Right, okay.
That is the best part. It really is. So, and again, it's the first one, really, after like the kind of intro sequence. And I would have just been fine if the castle was like 5 times bigger and that was the whole game.
That might just be me, though. I might just play through the castle section, and if I get bored, I'll put it down and I'll be fun because I'll get a code for it or whatever.
I don't think you get bored. I will say that. You wouldn't get bored.
Okay, well, that's
something. There won't be a part of you that's going to think like, yeah, the game could have just been that. Like, there are still plenty of fun, interesting things happening. There are some issues where guys, again, right at the end, there's an issue where it gets very actiony for a bit, and I'm like, I don't know.
Sorry, my daughter's over here. She's putting together. She's got these clear plastic, like red and blue sheets of plastic, and she's looking at me and saying, "I'm purple Emmy," because purple's her favorite color, so she likes to combine blue and red to make purple all the time.
That's very good.
It's very impressive stuff over here, guys. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try playing it. I like Resident Evil 4 a whole lot, and I know this isn't exactly like the new Resident Evil 4, but like you said, it sounds like there's a lot of DNA, a lot of vibes.
Did you play Resident Evil 7?
No, I was too scared. It seemed scary, especially like because I would have been like, oh, I should play this in VR, and there was no way.
Yeah, it might be work. So that they do a bit of a like, here's what happened, Resident Evil 7 thing if you didn't play it to catch you up, which is nice.
Yeah,
I watched a full playthrough of 7. and I'm kind of glad I did. There is some context and stuff
Okay,
there that
maybe
is
I'll try to see if I
helpful.
could find like a
Like even if you just find a speed run, that's
yeah, I
like
might find a
it's
speed
like
run.
90
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly. Yeah.
It's enough.
Let me
help.
ask you now. I know everyone is wild about this guy, and I know you. So that means you're a big fan too. Ethan Winters just seems like the best character. Seems like nothing. All great writing, great voice acting. How good is Ethan Winters?
I actually don't even know how people think because I haven't read too many people's opinions. He's very bland. His voice I think is not great, and like sometimes sometimes he is just not as scared as he should be. Like I am not actually there. This is all clearly pretend for me, and I am clearly much more terrified than he is.
Yep.
So it's and I don't. The first person perspective is good. I don't understand their obsession with like we can't see his face,
right,
and stuff like that. And sometimes like they do that in a way that is like distracting. Like it's make him a character, or just like make it be Leon or something. So that's interesting. But yeah, there's things to talk about there too that I won't talk about.
Well, I'm glad it seems like you like this game. So I'm glad it wasn't like just like let's just scare Mike and then now he doesn't like the game, and that was kind of a waste of time. No, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
No, it is good, and there are some people I notice who really like 7, who are a little down on this, but I think most people, even people like 7, like this game, and I imagine most people are going to be happy. I think it's going to have enough flaws that it's not going to be many people, if anybody's, favorite Resident Evil game, but it certainly isn't going to be like it's not Resident Evil 6. That is for sure.
I am, yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna play it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's the biggest game to come out this year so far. I think
the timing is great because this is almost in that Lost Planet spot, which is another kind of thing that was in the 360 era, right? Where like people are a little hungry for something to play on the new systems, so why not Resident Evil 8?
Right, exactly. Anything else, Mike, that you've been playing, or should I talk about like my small little thing?
You've made it to the major leagues in my MLB The Show playthrough. You're pitching for the White Sox. Although it's gotten harder, man. You were like nonstop shutouts in AA and AAA. People have been hitting homers off of you. So we've been having some rough. Not too bad. You got your first win. They haven't sent us back to AAA yet.
I can tell you this, Mike, I can't handle failure, so I'm just going to collapse immediately.
I'll tell you what,
really
I can't sometimes either.
Yeah.
Like I've had some games where I've given up some runs in the first inning, and I'm almost tempted to just like turn the console off or just sim the rest of it. Like, no, I'll get through it.
Yeah.
I do, but yeah.
I've been playing much. I actually have been playing a little bit more Returnal now that I'm like trying to see, like keep up to see if they're making some updates. I'm like, I wonder if they're changing the balance or anything. I do think they haven't been too communicative about that stuff, at least not like they might be on their Discord. I haven't joined their Discord, but it seems like maybe they are making it a little bit easier, I think, in terms of what it played like before and what it played like after. They still have not turned on this feature, at least not in the main game. I think you can get it in some of the side modes, but where you find other players' bodies, like your friends' bodies, and then you can either fight the monster that killed them, or fight like even a bigger, scarier version of that monster, or you can pay some ether, which is one of the game's currency, to not have to fight it and still get some bonuses. But that's been off since early in the review period. They haven't turned that back on. Sounds like they're still trying. I think they're still working on basically stability stuff and dealing with the crashes. But I've been trying to keep up with that, see what people think. I still do like the game, but I still also feel pretty much the same way I felt when I wrote that review, which is it feels really samey a lot. And so I'm also wondering if they might mix some stuff up as they go further down the line, but that might take some more time. Do you have a question or?
No, I just thought I want to play the game. I maybe this week, I'll finally bite a bullet there and try it out. But I also noticed that once everybody was able to play the game, seems like people weren't quite as mad at you.
Yeah, I think most people are either like, yeah, I enjoy this and I like this a lot more, or people are like, yeah, I kind of agree with him, or even if they do disagree, they're like, I see where he's coming from. It's like, yeah, it worked out just fine. But you're right. Or people moved on to Resident Evil. There were some people mad about Resident Evil Village reviews, so yeah, that's where they went instead. I have mostly been playing Super Mario RPG on the Retroid Pocket too, because
nice.
Yeah, I'm like, I started playing this on the Super Nintendo Classic when I got it, but I have to play it on the TV, and it's like I was never going to finish it there. And now having it on the go on this really good handheld it's been really nice. It's been and like it has that 4x3 screen, so it like those games fit perfectly on there, and it just looks really nice. And I've really been enjoying that. And it's a little Android handheld. So you could just go in the App Store, the Google Play Store, and download whatever emulator you want. And most stuff up through Dreamcast works. Dreamcast is like hit or miss. And Nintendo 64, like most N64 games can run pretty well, but you got to make sure that everything else is closed and make sure you have it optimized with like hardware optimization and stuff. But then everything else just works flawlessly.
How's the PlayStation 1 emulation?
Good. And I've been playing, that's where I've been playing our Type 4 Ridge Racer. Yeah, Type 4. Yeah. Yeah. And I've been playing that there, and yeah, that runs great and looks really good on that screen. And I've just been enjoying it. But yeah, it's really good. It's a really good piece of hardware, especially for a classic game emulation. And so yeah, to more further answer that question from earlier, that's definitely the one I would go with. Yeah.
Yeah. This wasn't a super chat, but we like Kyle Martin. He does ask, any thoughts on Psychonauts 2 store page going up? Is that releasing sooner than we think?
I was going to mention that. I wonder if it's a shadow drop at E3. I wonder if that's how that would work. I don't know. I don't know for sure. That could be.
If anything is, that would be one, maybe, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, they haven't done much of that. Maybe that would be something they want to test out. I think that'd be a good game to do that with. Like, everyone's excited about these big games getting announced, and then what do you like? Okay, I want to play a game right now because I'm so excited about this stuff. Well, here's Psychonauts 2 on all the systems wherever you want to play it, but also on Game Pass. So go to town.
I know people are really hoping that Nintendo will shadow drop Hollow Knight Silk Song, right?
I know people were hoping for that. I hope so.
I mean, I hope so too. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up. But that is the dream.
Yes, it is. All right, Mike. I hit the outro button, so that means the music's gonna start playing. I gotta deal with these kids are hungry and they're yelling at me, so I gotta go get some Happy Meals. I think, or they won't even make a Happy Meal. They don't want me to leave, so I'll have to figure out how to craft that stuff out of nowhere. But Mike, why don't you tell people where they could find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Tokoto, TOLKOTO, and check out 90s Disney, my 90s Disney podcast. Our Rocketeer episode celebrating that movie's 30th anniversary is out. It was a great time. Talked with Danny Bilson, the film's co-writer, who was also involved in the gaming industry for quite a while. He was the THQ and stuff. So yeah, check out that episode, please.
I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. You can follow me there. Get most of my stuff. I do tweet too much, so maybe don't follow me there. I'm on twitch.tv/Jeff Grubb is where I try to do the Game Mess live each Tuesday. And then throughout the week, I might do some other episodes. This week, I did them all on YouTube just because I did not have the time to set up the live stream and I wanted to get stuff done overnight. But that means on youtube.com/Jeffrey Grubb. You can follow the Game Mess there and some of my other videos and other stuff I do, as well as this podcast. So if you're listening on the podcast version, you can always watch us live. We do this every Friday. We do it live. Come hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. The chat's always great. And then the Discord, join the Discord. That link is in my bio on Twitter. Come hang out. It's free to join the Discord. There's some like hidden rooms that's what's involved with the Patreon, but the Discord is free and open to everybody. So come hang out. It's been really active. A lot of cool stuff. I think Christian here, who's our mod on both, pointed out that we had 69 new joiners in the last week or something like that. So that's nice. All right. I don't know, but Mike, you got any plans for the weekend? Any big stuff happening?
Gosh, it's my one niece's birthday. It's Mother's Day, so a couple things. I'm officially 2 weeks vaxxed today, so that's
great. Yeah, that was me that was me last Saturday, and I was like, yeah, I could like feel good about stuff. Like I still want to wear my mask when I go into places, but like just walking comfortably around outside without a mask, it feels good. Yeah, like I took my kids to the park that day, and it was a lot of fun. All right, that's the music playing us out there, everybody.
Yeah, no, with the PlayStation E3 conference 2015.
Yeah, watch that. I'm gonna post it tonight. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Be good.